Okay, welcome to the Bears Hall of Discipline today. We're going to try and tackle the book of Ruth today in the Old Testament section of your Bible. If you want to flip on back, I'll give you a minute. Just keep heading back to Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. Keep flipping right, and then you'll run into the book of Ruth, right before 1 Samuel. Just a small little book. And Lord willing, we're going to get her knocked out today. Just 4 chapters. And with that, we're going to keep the chewing of the bear's flab to a minimum, and we're going to roll. The book of Ruth. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, her and her 2 sons. They go from having a famine in Israel, they move to a foreign country, and then their little bear clan, Big Daddy Bear, died off. Then she took them, the 2 boys, wives from the women of Moab, and the name of the one was Orpah, and the name was the other woman Ruth, and they dwelt there about 10 years in the land of Moab. Then Mahlon and Chilion died, both of them, and the woman was left with only her 2 daughters. So of the land of Moab, they brought 2 daughters into their bear's clan, and all the men died off. So there's only 3 women in the land of Moab to fend for themselves. Verse 6. Then Naomi arose with her daughters, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had again visited his people, giving them bread. Wherefore she went out of the place of Moab, her and her 2 daughters, and they went on their way back to the land of Israel, to Bethlehem, Judah. Naomi said to her daughters, Go now, I pray thee, and return to your families' households, and may they deal, and the Lord, with you kindly, for you have been kind to me, and my husband, and my children. The Lord bless you. May each of you find a home again of your own. And Naomi kissed them, and they had a nice little prayer and worship time, and wept. They're sad, but Naomi knew that she couldn't provide for all of them, because that's the way it was in that land. There was just the way it was. So Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. May you go unto your families' homes, and perhaps the Lord will bless you with husbands. The Lord in heaven be merciful unto you. She gives us to them twice or more. She's at the bottom end. You know, things are just not looking up. It went to bad, and husband died, sons died, but there's some good news on the horizon, that the Lord has visited Israel again. He has put a curtain of judgment upon them, because they were quite naughty. Let's just leave it like that. But now he's visiting them again with blessings, and fruit of heaven, and the land is springing forth again. She once again encourages them to move on. And they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother, but Ruth clave tight to Naomi. And she said, "Behold, thy sister has gone back unto her people. May you do as your sister has done." Naomi then entreated Ruth, "It's time perhaps for you to go back to your family." And Ruth entreated her, "I will not. I will stay with you, for I have taken you as my mother. I will lodge with thy people, and your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me and more, if aught but death part from thee and me." And when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, Naomi and Ruth returned to Bethlehem of Judah. And when it came to pass, when the journey came and led them back to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved, and they said, "Is this Naomi?" And she said unto them, "Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt bitterly with me." Now you can't blame her. Like Job, you can't blame him. Using Job as an example, he had gone through it. And his friends came around and they didn't really pick him up. They tried to tear him down. But Job still goes down in history as one of the 3 great men on earth. You'll find that written in the book of Ezekiel. And here, Naomi, much like Job, her coffers have been emptied, and she is without sustenance. So she's returned home. So she says, "Don't call me Naomi, call me Mara. I went out full, but the Lord hath brought me home empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me?" That's the normal feeling, right? And quite frankly, to some point or another, everybody's going to go through some kind of situation like this. If you're God's people, if you're a child of Jesus Christ, He's going to put you through the doorway of fire, because as you've entered through the doorway of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, by faith, believe, hope, it's like, "I need you, Jesus." You've entered that. And it's not the words, it's the condition of your heart. You've chosen Jesus. He chose you, but He waited for you to choose Him. And you entered through the door. And as you do that, God's going to take you through the valleys and the mountains, like climbing Everest. Not every day is going to be the summit. Some day is trying to get across the waterfalls, or finding your way back down in a blizzard because you can't make it up, or any mountain. I'm just using mountain climbing as an example. Your life in Christ is going to be all the above. It's going to be rejoicing. It's going to be the joy of the Lord. And it's going to be dearth, where people around you have died or are dying. And you must cling to your faith in Christ, knowing that whatever happens, God's will be done. A double will. God's will be done. So Naomi and Ruth, the Moabitess, her daughter, they set up camp in Bethlehem at the beginning of the harvest. Now that's the time to return into a land or go back out on the market for a new job hunt, right in the time for harvest. The dead of winter and things are frozen up tight. It's tough times. But they have returned at just the right time. And the Lord has blessed Israel and breaking forth the bread baskets, so to speak. Chapter 2. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth of the family of Elimelech, and his name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said unto Naomi, Let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And Naomi said unto Ruth, Go, my daughter, may you have a good day of laboring in the fields. She went and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and it just so happened she wound up in the field of Boaz. Just so happened. Just so happened. Who just happened to be of the kindred of Elimelech. She didn't know. God's providence. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said unto the reapers, The Lord be with you. And they answered him, The Lord be with you. Then said Boaz unto his servant that was set over the reapers, Whose damsel is this? And the servant that was set over the reapers answered and said, It is the Moabitess, the damsel that came back with Naomi out of the country of Moab. She said, I pray you, let me glean and gather after the reapers amongst the sheaves. So she came and hath continued even from the morning until now, that she tarried a little in the house. Then said Boaz unto Ruth, Hearest thou, my daughter? Go not to glean in another field, neither go from hence, but abide in my fields with my maidens and my reapers. That's a nice invitation. Back then, that was a nice invitation. Let thine eyes be on the field that they do reap, and go thou after them. Have I not charged the young men that they should not touch thee? And when thou art athirst, go unto the vessels and drink that of the young men which they have drawn. Then she fell on her face and bowed herself to the ground, and said unto him, Why have I found grace in thine eyes, that thou shouldest have mercy upon me, a stranger? And Boaz answered and said unto her, It's been fully showed to me and known to me that thou hast been merciful and gracious to thy mother, and the death of thine husband, and thy father, and thy brother. And you have come into God's people that thou knewest not before. The Lord recompense thy work and bless thee by the provision of the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings thou have come to trust, and as I also. Then she said, Let me find favor in thy sight, my Lord, for that thou hast comforted me, and for that thou hast spoken friendly unto thine handmaid, though I be not like unto one of thine own handmaids. Boaz said unto her, At mealtime come thou hither, and eat of the bread, and dip of thy morsel in the dip. And she sat beside the reapers, and he reached her parched corn, and did eat, and was sufficed till she was full. And when she was risen up to glean again, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Let her gleave amongst the sheaves, and reproach her not, and let fall so also some of the handfuls of the product for her. In other words, leave some behind, drop some, so that she can reap big and full. So Ruth finished her reaping and gleaned, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took it up and went forth into the city, and her mother-in-law saw that she had gleaned, and she brought forth and gave to her that she had received after she had eaten. And her mother-in-law said unto her, Where hast thou gleaned today, and where wroughtest thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, The man's name whom I had wrought today was Boaz. Naomi said unto her, Blessed of the Lord, who hath now left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, The man is near of kin unto us of our next kinsman. And Ruth the Moabitess said, He is said also unto me, Thou shalt keep fast by my young men until they have ended the harvest. And Naomi said unto Ruth her daughter-in-law, It is good, my daughter, that thou go with his maidens, and that they meet thee together in the same fields as Boaz. Wow. That is very cool. So she kept fast by the maidens of Boaz to glean unto the end of the barley harvest and of the wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. So back in that day, that was like, winter's going to be good. And without that time period of reaping, times are tough. Chapter 3. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? And now is not Boaz of our kindred, and whose maidens thou wast? Behold, he winnoweth barley tonight in the threshing floor. Wash thyself, therefore, and anoint thyself, and put thy raiment upon thee, and get thee down to the floor. But make not thyself known unto the man until he hath done eating and drinking and feasting. And it shall be, when he lieth down, thou shalt mark the place where he shall lie. Thou shalt go and uncover his feet, and lay down by his feet, and see what the Lord shall do. Now, we're not talking, immoral things happening here. We're just talking about a custom of no touching, just laying at the feet of the man who you are showing your favor to, your kindness, your approval. And if he should so, then he can accept your approval and you can be married, that kind of thing. Like the custom we had in Judges. The women went out to dance, and if the men seen somebody out to dance that was approval to them, that they thought, I would like to have her as a wife, they could go up and take the woman and take her back to her tribe, and that was the way they got their wives. In some cases, that's the way it was, and the men were protected because they were of the tribe that would have been cut off because they had not enough women. They made a bad choice, and they almost were wiped out, but then they arranged that when the women danced, then that they were to take one of the women that were dancing during the feasts of harvest, then they were to be taken, and they could have them as wives. It was like a custom. I don't think we'd care for that much here in the United States, but in that time, during that little short window of the tribe was needing people, that was acceptable. So this is the custom. So she would go and lay down crosswise to his feet. And she went down to the floor and did according to her mother-in-law had bode her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry after feasting, he lied down at his place where he had his heap of corn and wheat and barley. And she came softly, uncovered his feet, and lay down crossways to his feet. So it meant something. It may not mean much to us, but in that time it meant something. It means that I'm available, that I have uncovered your blanket from your feet. Now you can spread your garment upon me. Through customary marriage rituals and so forth. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was cold, and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. He just could feel something was amiss. And he said, Who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman. Thus the custom. She uncovered the feet that he was covered with, and then it was like a picture then to take, not only cover your feet when you cover back up, but then cover me with your financial, physical, emotional, your love, and I will take your family name and bear offspring to you after the marriage. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed me more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not the young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee that thou requestest, for all the city of my people doth know what an honorable woman you are. And now it is true that I'm near to thy kinsman, howbeit there's a kinsman nearer than I. Tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning, that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him. But if not, I will do my part as the kinsman. So he had to allow somebody else to take the honor of bringing her into the family. Then I will do as the Lord liveth. So lie down unto morning, and we will see what the Lord may do tomorrow. So she lay at his feet until the morning, and she rose up before anyone knew one another. In other words, early in when it was dark yet, and the woman came to her home. And before she left, he heaped up 6 big measures of barley for a little gift to take home to her and Naomi. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, Who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all the man had done to her. And she said, These 6 measures of barley gave me here, because he said, Go not empty unto thy mother-in-law. She said, Sit still now, my daughter, until thou know what's matter, how it will fall, for the man will not rest until he has taken care of this thing by the daytime. Very interesting. Then went Boaz to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came unto, he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, Sit ye down here. And they all sat down. So at the gate of the city, this kind of was the courtrooms and the judgment, and if you found a robber or so forth and so on, or if you're an avenger of blood, all that kind of stuff. At the gates, that's where they met. And so that's what they did. They met at the gates. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi that is come again out of the country of Moab selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech's. And I thought to share with you, saying, Buy it now before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, but if not, I will redeem it. So tell me, that I may know, for there is more to redeem beside thee and the field, and I am after thee, if you do not redeem the field and that which is more. Then said Boaz, What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of the Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. And that's the more, Ruth. You get the land, but you also have a woman that's going to be part of your family now. And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Now this was the manner in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing, for to confirm all things. A man plucked off his sandal and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, Buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, Ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from amongst his brethren and from the gate of his place, which ye are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, We are witnesses. The Lord make the woman that is come into thine house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do thou worthily in Ephraim, and be famous in Bethlehem. And let thy house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bore unto Judah, and of the seed which the Lord shall give thee, this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life, and a nourisher of thine old age. For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him. And Naomi took the child, and laid it in her bosom, and became a nurse unto it. And the women, her neighbors, gave him a name, saying, This son born to Naomi, his name shall be called Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Boy, isn't that just once again, God is not a respecter of persons. He cares what's in your heart and whom you love the most. You love Jesus Christ the most, he's going to see you on down the right road. Whether it's hard or easy, rich or poor, he's going to see you down that road. Because if you love him, you'll keep his commandments. And if you keep his commandments, you're showing you love him. And you love him, and you love him, and on and on and on. So Ruth now becomes into the lineage of the line of the tribe of Judah. Isn't that beautiful? Now these are the generations of Pharez. Pharez begat Hezron. Hezron begat Ram. Ram begat Amminadab. Amminadab begat Nahshon. Nahshon begat Salmon. Salmon begat Boaz. Boaz begat Obed. Obed begat Jesse. And Jesse begat David, the king. And eventually then, through that lineage, comes the Messiah, Yeshua. Through a really tough situation that Naomi and her husband and her sons left the land of Israel because of famine and hardship, lost all of the men in the family, had 2 Moabite women. And the 3 women had to fend for themselves, and eventually Naomi and Ruth came back to Bethlehem of Judah and began again. God allows U-turns, and God allows re-kicks. And sometimes you've fallen and you think, man, I just can't get out of this mess I'm in. There's hope. There's hope in Jesus Christ. If you let him give you that hope, he'll re-kick your life. But it's time to get up. Let him wash your feet and begin the journey on the narrow road unto eternity through the doorway of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, our everlasting Redeemer. God bless you, friends. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.